indoors.
Oh.
Hey, it's me, the Summer. What you doing indoors?
Hi, Summer. Well, the thing is, I'm just indoors because I'm a bit hot, and I'm actually doing my Halloween list of my top 10 Halloween animatronics. It's quite an important video, so yeah.
You're doing Halloween stuff on a beautiful day like this. What's wrong with you? It's the summer. Come on.
I just really like doing my Halloween list, if that's okay. I'm okay, thanks.
But I got some great things out here. We've got books, and let's not forget the bone-crunching heat.
Look, the thing is, no offense, I get it. Yeah, you're lovely and hot, and there's bugs and stuff, but I am more of an autumn person, really. That's just who I am. Sorry.
I'm gonna pretend I didn't hear that. You say you're an autumn person?
Yeah, I kind of am, yeah.
I don't think so.
Look, I don't want to get personal or anything, but I want to just be left alone, if that's okay. And if you don't leave me alone, I'll have to get extreme on you.
Why? What you gonna do?
Okay, I didn't want to have to do this.
Wait, what you doing? No, I'm sorry. I'll go away for a bit. No.
Yeah, that's right. Good old-fashioned rain dance. Sorts them out every time. That's better. Hey guys, it's me, Halloween Dan. And yes, though I'm not sure if that little stupid intro got lost in translation or not, but today I am doing one of my absolute favourite videos to do. It is a hot, scorching day here in the UK. It is really, really hot, which is why I thought there's nothing better to do than hunker down indoors, close all of the blinds, and let's talk about some Halloween animatronics. But this isn't just any random array of Halloween animatronics. This is one of my absolute favourite videos to do, where I finally lay my cards down on the table and we discuss my favourite animatronics of 2025. Let's do this. So we've reached that time of year where there isn't going to be a huge amount left to discuss when it comes to animatronics.
No. Wait.
There could be a few sneaky little things here and there. There actually might be quite a lot of things due to the UK that we haven't yet seen. But for the most part, we've seen nearly everything. It's at this point in the year that I like to sort of let everyone know what were my favourites of the year that we've had. Now, a few disclaimers, just a little bit of admin before we get too far into the video. This video is going to be about animatronics and animatronics alone. I will not be talking about statics as such, or at least there won't be any statics in my top 10 list. The second thing to mention is that this is going to be mostly on store-bought animatronics, the things that you can buy either online or from an actual mainstream store. We're not talking about the big guys here like Distortions and Beastcraft, etc., because, well, the list would be dominated by them. Let's not be around the bush. This is going to be the sort of props that most ordinary people can buy, whether it be in a store or online. That's what I will be focusing on. And lastly, this is not me saying these are the top 10 best animatronics of the year. This is my personal list. These are the props that I would be prepared to buy, that I think are really cool and would go with my theme. This isn't me saying that these are the best ones that have ever been made and are the best for this year. They're just the ones that I like the most. And so with all that said, let's jump in. But first, before we go too far, I always like to do something every year where we talk about some honourable mentions. And I always like to do this in the style of a cheesy 90s DJ who really probably should have been taken off the air a long time ago. In at number 6 is the Crypt Countess, a very cool prop from Spirit Halloween that Dan liked very, very much. It has a lot of movement, it has a lot of cool looks, it's a crypty countessy kind of a woman. But Dan cannot get past the fact that she's shaking her hips like a hula hooper woman, and it freaked him out a little bit. Cannot be doing with that, so that's why it's in his honorable mentions list. And yes, Dan will be referring to himself in the third person here. It's a very weird concept, but Dan's a very weird guy. In at number 5 is the Costco Rise Up Reaper. A very cool prop that Dan likes very much, and if he's honest with himself, if he sees it in store, he may actually buy. But in general, it is a very basic Reaper prop. It looks quite basic, its action's quite basic, its phrasings are quite basic, just a laugh track, but it is a cool Reaper nevertheless, and Dan might buy it. In at number 4 is the HalloweenCostumes.com Mothman. A very cool prop that practically made Dan wet his pants when he saw it. Dan likes Mothman, Dan likes big props, this ticks every box. The only problem is that it is probably too big for his haunt, and Mothman makes no sense for his haunt either. In at number 3 is the giant 9.5-foot spider from Home Depot. Possibly the coolest static prop Dan has ever seen. A massive spider with a glowing butt that will have you hypnotized like you're on stage with Harry Houdini. But as Dan already has mentioned, this is a non-moving prop, so it cannot be in his top 10s list. Just worth a cool mention. In at number 2 is the Home Depot Tumble the Troll. A very awesome looking troll prop with an awesome pointy head. Dan likes pretty much everything about this guy. It's very, very cool and very, very troll-like. Except for Dan doesn't really do a fantasy theme as such, and so it would be a little out of place in his display. And in at number 1 is the 15-foot Galley Crow from Home Depot. A very cool, very awesome, very big animatronic, but it is also a kind of a what the hell is this prop as well, because although it's called a Galley Crow, Dan still can't fully figure out exactly what it is. And for that reason, and that reason alone, it doesn't make his top 10s list. But that was Dan's honorable mention. Okay, so that was fun. Now it's time to dive right in to my top 10 list.
Do it! Just do it!
And this list took ages for me to put together. I have moved things around, taken things out, put things in. I think this has probably been one of the hardest years to create this list because, to be honest, there's quite a lot of props that are rather mid. Like, there's not really been a huge amount this year that I would say has stood out leaps and bounds above everything else. There's just been a lot of pretty good props, all at a very similar level to each other, with only 1 or 2 exceptions here and there. The first entry onto my list is probably going to be the most controversial of all, because it is actually a very basic prop. But when I was putting this list together, I kind of wanted to do 2 things at once. I wanted to include as many different stores as I could and trying to be fair across the board. But I also wanted to be true to myself and what I would actually genuinely buy. And this is one of those things that, though basic and though pretty simple, it is definitely something I would buy. So coming in at number 10 is the HalloweenCostumes.com Lunging Bride. This is a pretty basic prop. You've got this pretty scary looking bride with a pretty awesome looking face sculpt. She's sort of crying and saying some creepy lines. And then she has a very basic little lunging feature and her head lights up with this UV light that's built into the head. Out of the lineup of things that have come out brand new to HalloweenCostumes.com this year, this has probably been my favorite so far. I know there's a lot of things this year and I've mentioned 1 or 2 already. And some of you are probably going, of all the things, Dan, really?
Really?
But I didn't want to include something that we've already had from last year. Let's face it, most of their lineup this year has been things that have been returned from other places. And to be fair, a lot of their other stuff was a bit mid. This was the only one that I could actually imagine in my horn, and I liked the function, I liked the action, I liked the lunge, I liked the light up feature, I liked the head sculpt. It's a perfectly cool little bride prop that lunges forward, and I rate it.
Forever.
Even after death.
In at number 9 is a prop that for a little while was one of my absolute favourites. Probably would have been higher up on this list. But as I've seen more and more footage of it, my estimations of this prop have gone down. And that is the Home Depot grave robber. When we first saw footage of this guy out of the manager's meeting footage, I thought this guy was so awesome. I loved the face sculpt. I loved the creepy eyes with the flaps of skin over them. I liked the fact that he was a grave robber and not a grave digger. And then I also liked the little pop-up scare function where this skeleton skull character pops up underneath the foot. The way it was posed, the costume, everything about this guy was really, really cool. But then when we got the official footage of the guy, it didn't look as good. The sculpt of the face didn't look quite as good. The mouth seemed a little bit flappy. And though the costume was still good and the scare function was still good, there was something about the way that the leg was posed that made it look less like he was pushing the skull head back down and more like his leg had broken when the skull head had popped up. It just didn't look quite right. And for that reason, my estimations of it went down. Now, it's still in my top 10s list because I really like this guy and I think he would look cool in my display. It's just that maybe he doesn't look quite as cool as he originally did when I first saw him.
This coal-black burglar is dusty from decades or perhaps centuries in the dirt.
In at number 8 is my only 12-foot or above prop. I'm growing up, guys. And that is the 12-foot vampire from Lowe's. From the moment I saw this, I liked it. I like vampires and anything a bit vampiric, and you've got this big Nosferatu-ish kind of a character, big and imposing and 12 foot. Very, very cool. And I wasn't going to make the same mistake I made with the Bone Collector last year, where I writ it off right at the beginning and then later on had to kind of eat my words and say it was actually pretty good. But then, a bit like everything this year, I started off really liking it. Then I saw some proper footage of it and was like, actually, it doesn't look as good now. It looked a bit plasticky. It didn't look as good as what I'd imagined it to. But then when we started to see some proper footage of it and some footage of people who'd actually bought it, I changed my mind again. The thing is incredible. It's imposing. It's creepy as anything. The way it looks, the way it's slowly turning back and forth. I like the flicker flame effect in the lower section of it as well. Everything about this prop is really, really cool. And for a 12 foot, it actually has quite a lot of motion and it obviously has some phrases. So the fact it's a vampire and it's 12 foot, creepy as anything, I like it. I'm here for it.
I have traveled so very far.
In at number 7 is the Home Depot Nightshade Witch. Now, witches, there's been a good few witches out this year, but this is the only one that I would even put anywhere near my top 10 list this year. I said in a previous video that I'm going to try and stop comparing things to Lethal Lily all the time. But let's face it, guys, there's a reason why Lethal Lily is the comparison point. She's the OG, she's the GOAT. She is the thing that most people want to see when they think about witch props.
That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
This witch, however, is as close as we are gonna get to getting something as good as Lethal Lily. And to be honest, there's a lot of things about this witch that I really, really like. Firstly, the costume. The costume is incredible, so well detailed. I love that big pointy hat. I think there's loads of little nice details in the costume. The raven on the staff is a little bit plasticky and cheap looking, but I like the aesthetic they're going for. The face sculpt, it's very, very creepy. I like the sort of warty crone look to this woman. She isn't clean cut and fresh, which is probably the only thing I don't like about Lily, is she looks a little bit too nice. This witch looks gross and kind of different. She looks like a crone. She's hunched over like a crone too. I also really like the movement. She has quite a lot of fluid movement. She's moving her head, she's moving her arms, she's moving her hands. And I like the way I think it's her left hand kind of twists around and she's kind of almost like she's casting a spell. That's a really cool feature. I really like it. The only thing that possibly lets it down are the eyes. Now, I have come to terms with the LCD eyes. I quite like them, and I do like the fact that you can choose different things. I think with that flame effect or the cat's eye effect, this is a pretty impressive looking thing. But I know there's a lot of people who are a bit disappointed that they didn't put realistic moving eyes in this witch. I think that would have elevated this up, and then this witch could have possibly been a front runner in terms of a competition for Lethal Lily.
As ancient as I, listen to their words, for they may be your last. You'll do well to heed their warning, for your own sake.
In at number 6 is a Spirit Halloween prop, and that is the Fire Demon. Now, the Fire Demon is me all over. It's a creepy demon prop, right? He's wearing a long black veiled kind of cloak, and he's revealing himself in a really kind of dramatic way where his hands are posed in this upwards pose, and then he slowly draws them back, revealing his head sculpt, revealing his chest. This is what a good demon prop should be. The head sculpt on this thing is incredible. It's almost like semi-transparent so that you can see that flicker flame effect running through it properly. I love the horns on this guy. They really look razor sharp and really quite aggressive. So there's everything about this guy ticks the boxes. I like the fact that he's a demon. The flicker flame effect is really good. I even like the way that he reveals himself from behind his cloak. It's a really, really good prop, and it would go really well in my horn. And to be honest, it's pretty much my favorite Spirit Halloween prop for quite some time.
I have risen from the dark pit of despair.
In at number 5 is another rather simplistic prop, but it has been one of my favorites since the moment I first laid eyes on it. And that is the 8.5 foot Sam's Club skeletal ghost. This thing just looks incredible. There's not really anything about it that I don't like. It's really big and imposing, which is great, but the detail in this thing is incredible. To be honest, one of my favorite features of this is the tombstone. The tombstone alone, the way it's lit, it has this sort of bar of lights at the front, so it actually lights right up the tombstone and up to the ghost. But the tombstone itself is lit within with this kind of flame effect, and it's kind of cracked, and it's got candles at the front. The detail on that tombstone alone is incredible, and I would buy just that tombstone. But the ghost too is incredible. It is hanging off the back of this tombstone, and it does actually have some back and forward movement. For such a large ghost that's hovering in the air, it's actually incredible that it moves even just a little bit. And then it's got these spooky phrases in a woman's voice, which is an element that I really like. I don't think we hear enough women's voices in these sorts of ethereal ghost props. I think it goes really well with this prop. And I love the way the ghost is lit, this ethereal blue coloring in its skull-like head running down through its ghostly body. I like everything about this prop. I really, really rate it. And although it's a more simplistic prop, sometimes simple wins the race.
Those who linger too long among these cursed grounds may find themselves trapped here, their mournful screams echoing forever.
In at number 4 is another prop that was one of the few that I saw, liked to begin with, liked when we saw some real footage of it, liked when I saw people buying it and building it. One of the most incredible props that we've seen throughout the year, and that is the Lowe's Keeper of Time. For me, this is one of them props that has it all. It has the X factor. Firstly, we have the look of this thing, the costume and the overall look. It's this Victorian-esque costume with these sort of ruffles down the front, long black cloak. It looks like how you would expect Jack the Ripper to look or something like that. It's got this really creepy face sculpt with these gross looking teeth. And then it's got these cool details, like it's holding this pocket watch in one hand and he's holding like a pair of really bizarre looking goggles up to his eyes. It's an overall really cool thing. But then when triggered, these elements light. So the eyes light green, the pocket watch lights green, which is why he's called the Keeper of Time. And then he starts speaking these really creepy phrases. So far, everything about this is ticking all the boxes. and then the movement comes in. This thing leaps up, going from being about 6 foot up to being about 9 foot. It's actually quite an impressive jump scare. It's very quick and very loud. But the coolest thing about this jump is that he doesn't just jump up and then stare off into the middle distance like he's looking at nothing. The head actually tilts downwards so that he's staring down at the person that's triggered it. Very intimidating and very scary thing. I think that's a really well thought through and cool thing. And the mechanism, as far as I'm aware, can be driven either by mains electricity or by battery. So this thing has a huge amount of versatility. So I really like this. I think it's worth every penny.
You look at me in fear, and you are right to be afraid.
In at number 3 is a prop that I've had a bit of a back and forth about, but I've landed on it and I've finally come to terms with it, and I really, really like it. And that is the Bride of Frankenstein. When I first realized they were making a Bride of Frankenstein, I was so excited. I imagined that it was going to be basically a twin of the Frankenstein animatronic we got last year, and we were just going to see this incredible moving thing. And then we saw images, and it did look impressive. It looked exactly like how you want the Bride of Frankenstein to look. It had that cool face sculpt, the hair with the lightning bolt down the side, the long white ethereal gown. It did look incredible. But then when we saw some footage of it, I found myself a little disappointed. The movement wasn't quite what I had expected. It wasn't really making any true sounds as such, and it had the mouth posed in a permanent open catching flies kind of a way. So that was a little disappointing. Even the eyes, although they were moving and they were more like realistic eyes, the eyelids were kind of fluttering rather than opening and closing, and the eyes were lit, which was a confusing and strange thing to choose to do for this prop. But as time has gone on, and as we've had some more official footage of this prop coming out, I've come to love this prop. I'm a sucker for the Bride of Frankenstein and Frankenstein's monster anyway, and this just is incredible. Yes, the mouth being posed open permanently like that does annoy me a little bit, but I can get past it. The overall look of this is great. I love the arm movement. I love the head movement. I even quite like the eye movement, and the light up eyes, it's fine. It kind of works. The hair looks great. Everything about this is great. And if you have a Frankenstein's monster element to your horn, which I obviously do, this would look incredible within it. I really like this prop, and every time I see it, whether it be someone who's bought it or someone who's demoing it, I like it a little bit more.
Gowns sway. Her illuminated eyes come alive, scanning the room with realistic movement. With her gauzy arms raised in horror, she may look like a damsel in distress.
In at number 2 is another prop that I don't know whether it's had quite enough spoken about it. For me, a truly groundbreaking prop, and that is the app-controlled Skelly from Home Depot. I'm not going to go on about it too much because I've already spoken about it several times, but for me, this is this year's most innovative prop. The technology is nothing new as such. People have been making props for themselves for years where they can make them move with servo movement and add in whatever phrases they like. It can be done. But for people like me who are novices when it comes to that sort of stuff, and who these sorts of things don't come natural to them, to be able to buy a prop, set it up in your home, download an app, and basically be able to make that prop whatever you want it to be, that is a mind-blowing thing. And even though it's just a pretty basic skeleton, you could turn this into whatever you want it to be. Personally, I like the skeleton. I'd leave him as he is, and I would have him doing all kinds of different things. You can make his arms do what you want, you can make his head move how you like, you can change the lighting, you can change his eyes, but most importantly, you can change its phrases, and you can even speak through it in real time. I think you could have so much fun with this prop. As a haunter, and anyone who is a haunter, people within this community, if they're trying to achieve anything, they're trying to make their displays unique. They're trying to make their horn something different. This could be that. Though it's bought from a store, and though every neighbor in your neighborhood could buy the exact same prop, the chances are none of them are going to be doing or saying the same thing, and that makes this incredible. And in honesty, I think this is just the beginning. I think this prop represents a real change in the market. I think from now on, we'll see a lot more of these props that you can either program yourself, program what you want them to do, or program what you want them to say, or both. And I think this is the beginning of a whole new era for the animatronic market.
Hear its chatter. Join the celebration of ghouls and creepy creatures alike to the spookiest season of them all.
But in at number one, there could be but one winner for me. And though this isn't going to be number one on everybody's list, it had to be my number one because I am so excited for this prop.
So excited!
And that is the 7.5-foot monster from Costco. This is clearly a Frankenstein's monster. I've talked about this prop several times on my channel, and I am waiting, Costco, hurry up, for them to drop it on their website so I can buy it as soon as it appears. I am desperate to own this prop. Yes, it is based on Party City's Marlon the Monster. It is a very simplistic Frankenstein's monster animatronic. But everything about this ticks the boxes for me. The fact that it is Frankenstein's monster, yes. The fact that it has lightning bolts in the head, yes. The fact that it's looking up into its head with pain every time those bolts in its head kind of flicker with electricity, yes. I like the LCD eyes in this. I think that this prop would have been missing an element if not for those LCD eyes. I really like that. I like the costume. I like the fact that it's weatherproof, that I can put this out into my haunt and not have to panic about it every time we get a downpour of rain. And the fact that, of course, it's Frankenstein's monster, and that's the theming I've been doing for the last year or so. That is amazing to me. I cannot wait to own this prop. If I manage to get hold of it, my dream will come true. But that's it, guys. That's my top 10. I know it's not going to be everyone's top 10. I know there's going to be things in that list that you're going to be like, Dan, you missed out so many good things. I know. There have been awesome things across the board this year. So many things I could have put in that list. These are just the ones that filled me with joy, either from the minute I saw them or I've grown to love, and I think would work well in my personal haunt. I know everyone's got different things on their minds and different things they're going for. These are just mine, and I hope that at least some of them you appreciate. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching today, and I will see you in the next one. Keep it spooky. Bye.